Good morning, math students. It is time for our practice test. Now, please make sure you've already completed the test, the practice test that is, before you watch this video. That way it will be most helpful and you can get the most benefit out of it. Let me tell you what we're going to do. We are going to go through every problem in order. So if you're having trouble with a particular problem, please feel free to fast forward to that problem. We'll go through every problem, and then of course we will end with that error analysis at the bottom, numbers 13 and 14. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So number 1, 18x minus x. Now it looks like the variable in both of those terms are just a plain old x, so they are like terms, which means we can just subtract. So what are we going to subtract? 18 minus what? Well, there should be like a 1 there. You can kind of pretend there's a 1 in front of the variable if there's no number there, if there's no coefficient. So 18 minus 1 is 17, and then it's still an x. So 17x is our final answer. Let's go to number 2. Okay, so a few different things going on here. It looks like we have some things with m squared there. And then that one, notice I'm underlining the negative sign in front of it also. That's so important. So we have two terms with m squared. Now we've got something with m, and here's another term with m. And then here is just a constant term. In other words, it's just a number. So let's combine our like terms. 12m squared minus 50m squared. Okay, so let's see. Different signs we need to subtract because we have positive 12 and negative 50. So 50 minus 12 is going to give us 38. And then take the sign from that larger number. And we know 50 is larger, so it has a negative. We're going to make it negative 38. And it's still going to be m squared. That variable won't change. Now 9m plus 8m is going to be 17 because 9 plus 8 is 17. And again, that variable won't change. It's just an m. And so we've used this one, and we've used that one, and there's just the minus 7 left. And then we're done. If yours came out in different order, that's completely fine. I'm not worried about order. Just be aware that it's a multiple choice test, so the answer you're choosing might have the terms in a different order. But as long as they're the same, like for example, if you had 17m minus 7 minus 38m squared, you have the same three terms here. They're just in a different order. That would be totally correct. Okay, going on to number 3. Hey, here we get to distribute a little bit. So we're going to distribute our 5y to the y, and we're going to distribute it to the 6 there. So let's go ahead and do that. So 5y times y. Now let's multiply the coefficients first. Remember, the coefficient, that's that number in front of the variable. So 5 times the number here, and as we know, if there's no number there, we can think of it as a 1. I'll go ahead and write it right there. So 5 times 1, that gives us 5. And now we multiply the variables. We have y times y, and that gives us y squared. Okay? Let's do 5y times 6 now. I'm going to leave the sign blank just to make sure we get the right sign there. Let's go ahead and do the multiplying first. So we have 5 times 6, and that gives us 30. Now multiply the variables. Y times, well, there's no variable there, so we're just going to leave it as y. Okay? Now, was it positive 30 or negative 30? Looks like it was positive, so we're going to put a plus sign there. And now we have that plus 11y squared that we're just bringing down. So now that we have successfully distributed, we need to combine our like terms. And that's going to be 5y squared and 11y squared. We can't combine that with the 30y because that is not a like term because the y is not squared there. So 5 plus 11 gives us 16. It's still y squared. And then we need to do the plus the 30y. And that's that. Okie dokie. Okay, sorry about that. Next one, number 4. We have 31m plus 12 minus 18m squared. Okay, so we have a term with an m, we have a term that's just constant, and we have a term with an m squared. So can we combine any of those? No. You might see the answers in the multiple choice in a different order. You might see it like this. But again, I'm not worried about order. Just be able to recognize that this is the same thing as that, and you're done. And if you just said completely simplified already, like if you wrote simplified on your test, that's great. You do not have to change the order. Okay, going on to number 5. Looks like we have some terms with K. All right, so 4 plus 3 is 7, minus 5 is 2. So it looks like we have 2K. And now let's simplify our constants. We have minus 5 and we have plus 8. So minus 5 plus 8, you could think of it as 8 minus 5, and that just gives us 3, positive 3. And that one is done. Okay, looking at number 6. So here we have a negative sign in front of some parentheses. And you could think of it as distributing the negative through the parentheses, or you could think of it as distributing -1 through the parentheses. Same thing either way, whichever way you want to think about it. So we're going to distribute that to the R and to the 55. So let's start by copying down our 9R. And now the -1 or the negative goes to the R, so we're going to have minus R. And then the negative also goes to that 55, so minus 55. Now we're done distributing and we're going to simplify. Looks like we have a term with an R here and another term with an R here. 9R minus 1R gives us 8R. And we're bringing down the minus 55. And that's all we can do. We are done. Let's keep going. Number 7. More distributing here. So -7 is distributed to 6x minus 3. Let's draw our arrows. Okay, -7 times 6 is -42. So I just multiplied the numbers, right? Now let's multiply the variables. Is there a variable here? No, there's not. So that's just going to be an x. And now -7 times -3, don't forget that negative there, is going to give us a positive 21. And then plus 32x. Okay, now it's time to simplify. So we have a term with an x here and a term with an x here. So -42 plus 32. Let's see, they have different signs, so we need to subtract. 42 minus 32 is 10x. And taking the sign from the larger of the two numbers, that's going to be this one, and its sign is negative, so it's a -10. And now we just have that 21 to bring down. And that one is done. Okie dokie, going on to number 8. Looks like we got more distributing, so let's draw our arrows. So 8 times 4a, okay, 8 times 4 is 32. Looks like there's no variable here to multiply, so we're just going to keep that a there. Now 8 times -9 is -72. And again, no variable there, so we're just going to keep the b that the 9 had. Okay, now on this next part, be careful because we have a -4 that has to be distributed. -4 goes to 12a and it goes to 4b. So -4 times 12a is going to give us -48 and then just the a. And -4 times +4 is -16 and then just the b, like that. Now let's combine our like terms. So we have 32a minus 48a. All right, so we've got positive 32, -48. Looks like we have different signs there, so we should subtract. Let's see, that's going to be 16. 48 minus 32 is 16. And then the larger number is the -1, so let's put a negative in front of that. And it's still got an a there. Now let's combine the b terms. So we have -72 minus 16. It looks like they're the same sign, so let's add them. 72 plus 16, that's 82 plus 6 is 88. And this time they're negative. We're going to keep that negative sign. So 88, and it's still a b. Okay, and then that one is done. Hey, sorry about pausing there. My husband made me some scrambled eggs and I wanted to go eat them while they were hot. They were good. Have you guys had breakfast yet? I hope so. Breakfast is good. I like breakfast. Anyways, keeping on going, let's do number 9. Okay, so it looks like we've got some more distributing here. Let's distribute our -6 to the x and to the -4. So -6 times x, well, again, if you want to just think there's a 1 in front of the x, then you can think -6 times 1, which as you know just gives you -6. And then there's no variable in front of the 6 to multiply, so we're just going to keep that x, just like that. Now -6 times -4 is going to give us a +24, so we're going to write plus 24. And now we've got more distributing. This time we have a +2, so distribute that to the 2x and to the -8. We're going to get, let's see, 2 times 2 is 4, +4. And then there's just the 1x, so we'll write x. And then +2 times -8 is going to give us -16. Okay, now we combine our like terms. It looks like we have some terms with an x, and then we have some other terms that are just constants. Okay, so -6 plus 4. We have a negative and a positive, different signs, so let's subtract. 6 times 4 is 2. So I'm going to write 2x because we're talking about x's here. And now I have to take the sign from the larger number. 6 is bigger than 4, so I'm going to make it a -2 because there was a negative in front of the 6. Now let's do 24 minus 16, which is going to give us 8. It'll be a +8, so I'll write +8. And then we're done with that one. Okay, going on to number 10. We've got 11y times y. Again, we're distributing. And 11y times 5. So 11 times 1 is 11. And y times y is y squared. And now 11y times 5. 11 times 5 is +55. And then there's nothing to multiply that y with, so we're just going to keep it like a y. And then we'll bring down our -41y. So looking for like terms, there's nothing else with a y squared, so I'll just go ahead and bring it down. And then this has a y, and that has a y, so let's just subtract. 55 minus 41, that's going to give us 6. So plus 6y. Wait a second, that's not 6. Sorry. 55 minus 41 is 14. I hope you guys caught that. I bet you did. 14y. Okie dokie. Going on to number 11. 8m plus 12n minus 9m. Okay, no distributing here. Let's just go ahead and combine our like terms. So we have some things with an m, and then we have this little guy with an n. So +8 minus 9 is going to give us -1m plus 12n. Now you could write it like that, and that's totally fine, but more often you're going to see it without the 1 there. So in other words, -m plus 12n. So again, multiple choice test. I just want to make sure you can recognize that if you get this, then this is the same answer. Going on to number 12. We have some distributing again here. So -4 times 11k and -4 times 11. So -4 times 11 here is going to be -44. And then we just have the 1k there. And now -4 times +11 is -44. And then we just bring down the plus 12k. Okay. So combine like terms. We've got some k terms here. Well, -44 plus 12, we've got different signs, so we should subtract. What's 44 minus 12? 44, 34, 32. -32. And again, it's negative because I'm taking the sign from that larger number. And then we just bring down our 44. And that's all we have to do there. So that's the end of the first section. Now I know that the bottom section maybe looks a little bit new to you. This is something that we call error analysis because we are analyzing someone else's errors. So it says Karen made some mistakes while distributing and simplifying. Uh-oh. Can you identify her error in each problem and then correctly simplify each expression? So you have two things you have to do. Identify the error and correctly simplify. So make sure for full points that you do both of those things, especially on the test, right? Because there will be some of this on the test. Okay, so here's the problem. Let's just kind of think through it in our heads. And if you want to just solve it first and then compare your work with her work, you can do that too. So I'm thinking, okay, we've got a negative that needs to be distributed. Okay, so let's see what she did. Okay, this is just her copying down the problem. And then she got rid of the parentheses. So did she distribute the negative to both of the terms inside the parentheses? Let's check. The negative should go to here and to here. It looks like she put the negative on the x, good, but then she didn't distribute the negative to the 2. So I'm just going to circle this positive sign and say didn't distribute negative. Or you could say -1 if you want. Does not matter. It is the same thing. So didn't distribute negative, and that is her mistake. So when it says identify her error, this is a great way to do it. And now we need to correctly simplify. So it would be 5x minus x, and instead of +2, -2. And then we simplify. 5x minus x gives us 4x minus 2, and then that is our final answer. Let's look at number 14. Okay, what did Karen do wrong this time? Let's check her distributing. So 3y times y is 3y squared. Okay, that's good. 3y times 2 is 6y. Yeah, that's good. Plus 5. And then it looks like she combined the 3y squared and the 6y to make 9y squared. And can she do that? No, those aren't like terms, so that's not good. I'm just going to write can't combine y squared and y. And then we're going to correctly simplify for her, which is basically the same thing that she had before she oversimplified, which is just that. And that's our final answer. Whoops, put it right there. That's our final answer, and we're done with that. We do have a study session coming up today at 11. I would love to see you there, especially if you've got questions on this. Of course, it's optional, as always, but anyone who wants to attend is welcome. Bye, you guys.